Hello Willow class and welcome back to Thursday's home learning, and we're looking at our learning journey. Today's date is Thursday the 7th of January and our learning journey question is this: can I write my own traditional tale with a twist? Now yesterday you all did brilliantly. You all thought about what types of things make up traditional tales or fairy tales, and then you were excellent detectives and you had a very close look at a picture from the book that we're going to be looking at. It's a fairy tale with a twist. You came up with some fantastic ideas of where the story could be set. Lots of you found and saw that there was an old lady in the image that you thought could be the queen, and therefore she might live in a palace. So you thought the gardens would be from the palace. So very well done, lots of excellent and imaginative ideas. Let's have a look at what we're going to do today. So here it is. This is a story that we're going to be looking at. It's called The Pea and the Princess. Now I want you to pause the video and have a little think to yourself. Have a look at the front cover. Do you know any stories already which sound similar to this? Pause the video, have a little think. Okay, hopefully you've had a think. You might know some stories that are similar, you might not. You might have looked at the front cover and thought, ooh, I recognise what those are. Are they mattresses? It looks a little bit like a sandwich as well, doesn't it? Okay, so let's find out a little bit more. I know a story that sounds very similar, slight difference. The story that I know that sounds similar is The Princess and the Pea. Let's just flick back. What's different? The Pea and the Princess. The Princess and the Pea. Now, some of you might know the story of The Princess and the Pea, but if not, I'm going to read you a version now. Here we go. The Princess and the Pea. Once upon a time, there was a prince who wanted to marry a princess. Oh, that definitely has a feature of a fairy tale or a traditional tale, because it starts with once upon a time and we know there's royalty involved, a prince and hopefully a princess. But she had to be a real princess. The prince looked all over the world, but he couldn't find who he wanted. Many young women said they were princesses, but were they really? It was hard to know for sure. There was always something about them that did not seem quite right. So the prince came home again, and he was sad. He wanted to find a real princess to marry. Oh, he does look very glum in that picture, doesn't he? One evening, there was a terrible storm with thunder and lightning. The rain came down hard as the wind howled. Suddenly, someone knocked at the door. Knocked at the castle door. Who do you think it could be? A young woman stood outside. She said she was a princess who'd been caught in the storm. But what a sight the rain and wind had made her look. The water ran down from her hair and clothes. It ran into the toes of her shoes until they overflowed. Still, she said that she was a real princess. We'll soon find out, thought the old queen. She went into the bedroom and stripped all the bedding off the bed. She took a pea and laid it on the bare bed frame. Then she took 20 mattresses and placed them on top of the pea. Finally, she put 20 blankets stuffed with goose feathers on top. Wow, look at all of those. On this bed, the princess had to lie all night. In the morning, the Queen asked her how she slept. "Oh, very, very badly. I barely closed my eyes all night," said the Princess. "Goodness knows what it was, but I was lying on something hard," she added. "I'm black and blue all over my body. It was horrible," she cried. What do you think she could feel? Now, they knew she was a real princess. She had felt that pea right through 20 mattresses and 20 goose feather blankets. Nobody but a real princess could be that sensitive. That means can feel things. So, the prince married her, for now he knew that she was a real princess. And what about the pea, you ask? Well, let's find out what happened to that. Do you think it was squished? The pea was given to a museum. You can still see it there if you like. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that story, and perhaps you've heard one like that before. Now, you've got 2 tasks for today's lesson. The first one is this. Can you remember the story and put the pictures below, which I've taken from the story, you'll recognise some of them, in order? So can you order the story that we've just read? There's only 6 pictures, and there were many more than that in the story, but I've picked ones that I think were the main ones. So either on Class Dojo, I've put a sheet up, so if you can print things out at home, you could print out these pictures and then you could pop them in order that you think they came in the story. You can always go back and listen to the story again. If you can't print this out, that's absolutely fine. You can just write the letters that go with the picture, okay, and write those letters in order for me. Okay, so if you think F comes first, you could just write F as number 1, and then whichever, if you think B comes next, then you can write B, okay? Now, as an extension, because I know some of you are amazing writers, if after you've cut those pictures out and stuck them down, or alternatively, you could draw your own pictures or just write the letter names, can you write a sentence that goes with each of the pictures to say what's going on? So for example, if I look at picture F, I could say, the Queen placed a pea on the hard part of the bed, okay, before she put the mattresses on top, okay, or the Queen placed the pea at the bottom of the bed. So that's your extension. Now, you've got one more task to do after this. I'm going to read you the start of our version of The Princess and the Pea. So you might want to pause the video now, go away and complete your activity, and then come back to find out what you need to do next. Okay, welcome back. Here are the answers. So, first of all, we've got picture D with the prince looking out and searching for his princess. Then we've got picture E where the princess arrives, but she doesn't look much like a princess because it's been raining and her hair's all wet and she's got water flowing over her shoes. Then we've got F, which is the Queen's test to see if she's a real princess, where she places the P. Then A, she goes to sleep and has a terrible night's sleep. Then B, at breakfast time, she tells the king, the prince and the queen what an awful night she's had, and they know then that she's a real princess. And C, they get married in the end. So the moral of this story, really, if there is a message to take from it, is actually don't judge people by how they might look at first. Don't judge people just by the way they look, because actually underneath it all, they might turn out to be a wonderful princess or just a really good person. Okay, let's have a look then at the start of our story. Here we go. This is the first couple of pages from our story, and I want you to think as I'm reading, who is the narrator in this? Who is talking? Many years ago, I was born in the palace allotment, among rows of carrot and beetroot and cabbage. I nestled snugly in a velvety pod with my new brothers and sisters. I felt a tingle. I knew that somehow I would be important. Pause the video, have a think. Who is our narrator of this story? Is it the princess, or is it a different character with a twist? Play the video once you're ready to find out. Well done if you uncovered that actually the narrator is going to have to be a vegetable. And that vegetable is the pea. The pea is going to be a main character in our story, and we're going to hear it from the pea's perspective. So this is what I would like you to do as your final task for our learning journey today. Can you answer the questions below in full sentences? If you sometimes find writing sentences really difficult, you could always record yourself answering the questions and upload it to Dojo. So number 1, if the pod was velvety, what does this mean? So what does the word velvety mean? Number 2, how do you think the pea could be important in the story? You might want to think back to the original story that we looked at earlier. And finally, question 3, what do you think could be different about this version of the story if it's told from the pea's perspective? What might happen that's different in this version from the original version? Okay, I want you to have a go today, like you did yesterday, at answering in full sentences with capital letters and full stops at the end. Really challenge yourself to try and join your sentences and link ideas with using and, but, so, or because. We can't wait to read your writing, so don't forget to upload a photo of it on Dojo. Well done everybody, and hopefully see you later for Zoom.